Samantha Pastras. I'm a resident of Tempe. I live just down the street here on Southern. And I've been a teacher for over a decade. And I believe really strongly in being very careful about making any decisions based on emotions and looking at what's been done before. We're very lucky in that other cities have done this before, and we've heard it today. So we can see what happened to those small businesses. We can see what happened to their economy, what happened with the people there. So I've been looking at research done by the senior economist at the Center for Economic and Policy Research. Her name's Eileen Applebaum. I encourage everybody, especially small business owners who are worried about this, to look at her research and see what she's done. Again, she's a senior economist at the Center for Economic and Policy Research. She found out that this actually is good for the economy. It has very minimal effects on small businesses. What she found is that there's a much lower rate of turnover for businesses who offer paid sick leave. It's probably why many of the business leaders we've heard from today already offer some kind of earned paid sick leave. What the council is looking at right now is to set just a really bare minimum standard, because it will help the city be more competitive. And what she found was that the way that a lot of small businesses dealt with it is that they found other employees who were already there would pick up the shifts. Some employees would swap shifts. It really, 62% of the people in Connecticut said that there was absolutely no added cost. 62% of the small businesses said that there was no added cost. An additional 15% said that the cost was below radar, that there probably was some kind of cost, but that they didn't even notice it. It didn't affect them. And if you look at her studies and at the places where this has happened in Connecticut, in San Francisco, and you know, make sure you cite your sources, because I have heard just terribly sounding things, but nobody cited their sources, so I'm not really sure how to go back and find that information. But small businesses that were afraid of this kind of policy have changed their mind about it. They've turned around, they've come around, because it's helped their businesses, it's helped their communities. So I just encourage everybody to please look at what's already been done, look at the numbers, and I think that we'll find that this standard, setting a very bare minimum, will help our community. I think it'll make Tempe much more competitive. Businesses that already offer above and beyond that bare minimum, you know, they're not, nothing, it's not going to affect them. It'll, you know, if you look, well, at least I predict that it will not affect them because of the research that I've done on this issue. So again, I encourage people to look at that. So my mother has a compromised immune system, and so I worry about things like this. We almost never go out to eat because I don't want to go to a restaurant where somebody who's sick goes. And I would love to live in a city that has this bare minimum, so I don't have to worry about her. And one other number that I found very compelling too was that hospitals would have a reduced cost at the ER because there would be less people going to the ER for emergencies because they had to go to work when they were sick. That's what her study found, that in Connecticut specifically, she believes they saved up to $1.1 billion a year because they implemented this. So,
Zoe Stein. I live on 10th and Hardy currently. I've lived in Tempe, Arizona for 4 years now. I'm a senior at the school at ASU, and I'll be graduating this May. I'm originally from New York, and I just want to say that I very much empathize with everything the small business owners are saying, and that, like, when the recession hit, it was really hard, and being a small business is difficult. My dad owns a small business in the Bronx, back in New York. I recently made the decision to stay in Tempe after graduation because I've really fallen in love with this place. And one of the reasons that is because we do really cool things, like put ordinances like this forward, where it makes Tempe a really nice and awesome place to live and work. And it's become very progressive and very exciting, and I feel like I'm valued for who I am and where I work. So, as a student, I meet a lot of kids who work and attend school full-time, and their work is either part-time or full-time. And I too have done that. I mean, school is very expensive. That's something we hear about all the time. And it's been really tough to watch a lot of my classmates have to make this decision between being very sick and either missing school or missing work and missing both. A lot of the time we choose to go to both work and school despite being very sick because we can't miss class, because I'm not sure if a lot of you know this, but like when you miss class, for every class you miss, you usually dock a certain amount of points, whether it's participation, but if you miss a certain amount of classes, you fail. And for a lot of scholarships that we're on, failing a certain number of classes means you lose your scholarship. So there's like a financial burden to missing class in addition to missing work. when you're really sick and you continue to do things instead of taking time off to rest, you usually get sicker. And I've had 2 specific friends end up in the hospital this year because they were that ill. I'm going to say something else, and I mean this with like the most respect possible, but I feel like how we perceive why people work hard is incredibly outdated in this room. Speaking as like a millennial and just like to kind of play that card, we choose to work hard when we value who we're working for and really believe in the company that is employing us. Again, I have a lot of people that I work closely with who have chosen to take jobs where they make a little bit less because they believe in what they're doing, and have left jobs where they made maybe significantly more because they don't like who they're working for. The best way to prove that you care about your worker and your employee and have them work really hard for you is to let them take some time off when they're not feeling well. Whether that's them personally not feeling well, or their kids not doing well, or their parents in the hospital, like, you know what, if you're the employer, like, I don't really think it's your business. I mean, they work really hard for you. It's been 30 hours. If they get 1 hour off, that seems incredibly reasonable. So that's kind of everything I have to say, but for those reasons, I support this ordinance strongly. I hope you guys.
Michael Laird.
Study after study and all of the experiences in the other jurisdictions that have already enacted such ordinances and legislation, what they've shown is that people that have access to paid sick and safe time are more satisfied, committed, and engaged with their jobs. Importantly, this also leads to fewer unscheduled absences, right, and reduced turnover and recruitment costs for employers, as workers are more inclined to stay with an employer that recognizes how important access to things like paid sick and safe time are. Currently, access to paid sick and safe time varies dramatically, and what we've heard from people we've worked with in the community is just how differently access is, as well as utilization rates are, depending on who the organization is, depending on business size, what the occupation actually is, employment status, socioeconomic class, and it varies. Both access to and utilization vary dramatically by race, by gender, and by national origin. This disproportionate access is problematic for a vibrant community like ours. I would just like to close then by saying I'm happy to work with the council, I'm happy to work with the working group and anyone in this community to talk about what has happened in other jurisdictions, as well as how we can improve this. I've worked with legislators on all of those issues, and thank you for considering this.
Against sexual and domestic violence is support of such an ordinance. So for domestic violence survivors and sexual assault victims, the issues of personal safety and economic stability are inextricably linked. One impacts the other, and that's the bottom line. For many victims, their concerns over staying safe and financially providing for themselves, and especially their children, is really a top reason why survivors and victims either can't leave an abusive relationship or can't stay out of an abusive relationship and feel the need to return to someone who may provide financially for a family, but is indeed abusive and dangerous. Earned paid sick leave would permit survivors and victims of sexual assault and domestic violence to address the immediate as well as the ongoing health consequences of such victimization. So this includes things, as well as other critical safety needs such as moving into shelter, relocating to a safe home, seeking medical treatment, and much more. And oftentimes, as survivors and victims' only option out of an abusive relationship, the only clear pathway is a paid job. And as someone who spent 5 years before being here with you today, working in a domestic violence shelter, I can tell you firsthand from going to court, going to medical appointments, going into the community, being with someone for 12 hours, on any given day, that victimization and being a survivor of domestic violence, being a victim of sexual assault, is a really time-consuming process. Everything from reporting to the police, if they choose to trying to find somewhere safe to go, getting kids out of school, moving, you name it, it's time-consuming, not to mention the wait for doctor's appointments and subsequent appointments for treatment. So in short, we know that when survivors and victims of sexual violence, sexual assault, rape, domestic violence, dating violence, partner abuse have access to the resources that help them build their economic resiliency, including policies like earned paid sick leave, that they and their families are much more likely to remain safe and secure. Thank you for your time.
name is Kenan Young, and I'm a Tempe resident for 25 years, born and raised on rural and southern. I'm here because I've worked in the service industry for 3 years, and in that, I've had a supervisory role in managing the employees that work with food. And in that, I've had to make a hard decision to send some people home that were too sick to work and could contaminate those that they were serving. Not only is this scary to me as someone who doesn't want people to be working when they're sick, but from a liability standpoint, if our population that's serving in these service industry roles are predominantly within the ages of 18 to 25, then these people are the at-risk communities that don't have the financial stability to say, you know what, I actually do not feel secure enough right now, I do not feel healthy enough to continue working on this particular day. If you force someone to work in an environment that is stressful to them, it increases their health risk, and in that whole tendril, I've heard a lot of discussion about business from the financial side, but not about the people side. Business should be about people and how we interact with each other. If you're treating your employees like they are commodities, that you can throw them away at the toss of a hat, that's not a company that I want to work for, and that's not something that I would hope Tempe supports. So in that, I do believe that in all changes, there is opportunities for innovation. So in this, if we are challenged to rethink our system for supporting this at-risk community, then there's going to be some pretty incredible innovations that come out of that, and that's a challenge that we all should empower ourselves to take on. The status quo is not enough, or otherwise the city would not be proposing this. So in that, I would hope that you look to you would look at your employees and how they are supporting your bottom line, and ultimately take care of them, because they will help take care of you.